Imagine two people, Sarah and Tom. They both graduated from the same university, landed jobs with identical starting salaries, and worked in the same city. For the first few years, their lives looked almost identical. Fast forward 20 years, and their financial realities couldn't be more different. Sarah is financially independent, living a life of freedom and choice. Tom, however, is drowning in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, constantly stressed about money. They had the same income, the same opportunities. So what happened? The answer isn't about intelligence or luck. It's about the psychology of money. This isn't a story about spreadsheets or investment formulas. It's a story about human behavior, about the hidden scripts that run our financial lives. And to understand our modern relationship with money, we have to go back to the very beginning. For thousands of years, money was simple, was tangible. It was a physical object with inherent value: seashells, salt, or most famously, gold. When you traded a gold coin for a bushel of wheat, you were exchanging something real for something else real. Your wealth was what you could hold in your hand. This system was straightforward, but it was also clunky. Carrying around heavy sacks of gold wasn't practical, and it limited the scale of trade and economic growth. Then came a revolutionary idea: the banknote. Goldsmiths, who already had secure vaults, started issuing paper receipts for the gold people deposited with them. Soon, people realized it was easier to trade these paper receipts than the actual gold. This was the birth of paper money, a promise, a representation of value. It was a massive psychological leap. For the first time, money wasn't the thing itself. It was the idea of the thing. This led to an even more powerful concept: banking and the fractional reserve system. Banks realized that not everyone would come to withdraw their gold at the same time, so they could lend out a portion of the deposited gold, or rather the paper money, representing it to others, charging interest and creating new economic activity. Suddenly, the amount of money in the system was greater than the amount of actual gold in the vaults. Money was no longer just a store of value. It became a tool for creating more value, seemingly out of thin air. This system fueled industrial revolutions and built modern cities, but it also introduced a new invisible element into the equation: trust. The entire system now depended on our collective belief that the paper in our hands was worth something. With this dependence on belief came a new vulnerability: human emotion. Nothing exposes this vulnerability like a crisis. Think about the Great Depression in the 1930s. After the stock market crash of 1929, a wave of fear swept the nation. People lost faith in the banks. They rushed to withdraw their cash. But because of fractional reserve lending, the banks didn't have enough physical money to cover all the deposits. This bank run caused thousands of banks to collapse, wiping out the life savings of millions. The economy wasn't just destroyed by bad loans. It was destroyed by a pandemic of fear. The psychology of the crowd turned a market downturn into a decade-long economic catastrophe. Fast forward to the 2008 financial crisis. This time, the assets were more complex: mortgage-backed securities and derivatives so complicated that even some of the people selling them didn't fully understand them. But the underlying emotion was the same: greed. An entire system was built on the belief that housing prices could only go up. Lenders gave out risky loans, investors chased higher and higher returns, and rating agencies looked the other way. It was a nationwide mania, a classic bubble fueled by collective delusion. When the bubble inevitably popped, greed instantly turned into its opposite: panic. Banks stopped trusting each other, credit markets froze, and the global economy teetered on the brink of collapse. Once again, it wasn't just the numbers on a screen. It was the raw human emotions of greed and fear that drove the machine and then crashed it. So what does this history have to do with you today? Everything. The same psychological forces that caused the Great Depression and the 2008 crisis are at play in your own financial life every single day. Look at the hype around certain stocks or cryptocurrencies. You see a coin skyrocket in value, and a voice in your head screams, "I'm missing out." That's FOMO, fear of missing out. It's the modern version of the speculative greed that inflated the housing bubble. Jump in. Not because you've done the research, but because you're afraid of being left behind. You're letting the crowd's emotion dictate your decisions. Then, the market takes a dip. The headlines turn red. Your investment is down 20%. The fear that gripped people during the bank runs of the 1930s is now coursing through your veins. Your instinct is to sell, to cut your losses, to get out before it goes to zero. This is panic selling, letting fear force you to sell low, often locking in losses right before a potential recovery. Remember Sarah and Tom? This is the core difference between them. Tom rode these emotional waves. He bought high during the dot-com bubble because of hype and sold low in a panic. He took out a huge mortgage in 2006 because everyone said real estate was a sure thing. He chased speculative crypto coins he saw on social media. His financial strategy was a reaction to the noise and emotions around him. Sarah, on the other hand, understood psychology. She knew that financial success is less about what's happening in the market and more about what's happening in your own head. She wasn't smarter than Tom, but her behavior was different. She treated money not as a game to be won, but as a tool to build the life she wanted. Her success wasn't due to a high income, but to a high savings rate. She understood that wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is the seed of your financial future. This brings us to the crucial point. Building wealth has surprisingly little to do with your intelligence, your education, or even your income. It's a soft skill. It's about your behavior. It's about how you respond to greed and fear. It's about your patience, your discipline, and your ability to think long-term in a world that encourages short-term gratification. So how can you start mastering the psychology of money right now? It boils down to a few simple, powerful lessons. First, wealth is driven by habits, not grand gestures. You don't need to win the lottery or find the next big stock. You need to build consistent, automatic habits. Sarah didn't become wealthy by making one brilliant investment. She became wealthy by automatically saving and investing a portion of every single paycheck, month after month, year after year, without fail. It's boring, it's not glamorous, but it is the most reliable path to financial freedom. The power of compounding works on your money, but it also works on your habits. Small, consistent actions create extraordinary results over time. Second, long-term patience beats short-term timing. Everyone wants to time the market to buy at the absolute bottom and sell at the absolute top. But history shows that even the experts fail at this consistently. The market is an unpredictable beast, driven by the chaotic emotions of millions of people. Instead of trying to outsmart it, just give it time. Sarah didn't try to predict crashes. She just stayed invested, understanding that downturns are a normal part of the journey. Her strategy wasn't timing the market. It was time asterisk and asterisk the market. Patience is your greatest advantage as an investor. It's the superpower that allows compounding to do its magic. And finally, the third and most important lesson. Controlling your own emotions is the most powerful money skill you can learn. Your behavior is the single biggest factor you have control over. You can't control the economy, you can't control interest rates, and you can't control what the market does tomorrow. But you can control how you react. You can choose not to panic sell during a downturn. You can choose not to chase speculative fads driven by hype. You can create a financial plan and stick to it, separating your decisions from your emotions. This is the final boss of personal finance. Master this, and you've mastered the game. The story of money is the story of human psychology. It's a timeless tale of our struggle between reason and emotion, patience and greed, long-term planning and short-term impulse. Sarah and Tom started at the same place, but their understanding of this story led them to vastly different destinations. The good news is, you get to write your own ending. It doesn't matter what your income is today. What matters is the behavior you start practicing now. Build the habits, practice patience, and learn to manage your own psychology. That's how you win. If you enjoyed this look into the hidden psychology behind our financial systems, consider subscribing. We release videos every week exploring economic history, behavioral finance, and the forces that secretly shape our world.